Magic words. Now, for this training, I'm going to refer to the main event workbook. This is the 242-page guide that you receive when you order the main event live. So I'm going to turn to the tab called During, and actually all the language is inside the book, so all you have to do is follow along with me. And let me just share with you 7 pretty simple concepts around magic words. The first concept is the word referral. It's a great name for a company, by referral only. However, when you're asking people to refer someone to you, there is no image for that and it produces no feeling. So the word I'm going to ask you to replace is referral, and now say the word introduce. So whenever you're in front of a person and you're about to ask them to refer someone to you, stop and ask yourself, how can I say the same thing and use the word introduce? So for example, you might say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, would you be comfortable introducing your friends and family members to me who could use my help? It's very different than, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, could you refer someone to me who wants to buy a home? You can actually feel the difference in the word introduce versus refer. The second word is help. I'm going to ask you to start to think of help versus service. So the next time you're about to say service, stop and ask yourself, how can I say the same thing using the word help? So for example, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, would you feel comfortable introducing your friends, your family members, and your neighbors who could use my help? Versus, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, do you know anyone that you could refer to me who could use my services? The word help puts the person who you're asking in the role of the person who's going to rescue another person. They're the one who's going to step out and save someone. So you're assigning a very important role to them when you're saying, who do you know that could use my help? The third word is friends, family, and neighbors. Actually 3 words. When you put them together, they have a cultural code called trust. And you're going to find that 90% of the time when people introduce you to someone, they will introduce you to a friend, a family member, or a neighbor. So you might as well start to give them that picture to look at. So when you say to the person, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, would you feel comfortable introducing your friends, your family members, or a neighbor to me when they need help with their real estate? Very powerful versus, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, do you know anyone who wants to buy a home that you can refer to me? And then the fourth one is being really clear on what your purpose is. Every time we sit down with a client, what we get a chance to do is express our purpose. And you're going to find in the CDs, one of the skills that I teach you to do is perform an extraordinary initial consultation. And in your initial consultation, you actually have word for word what you need to do to establish credibility. And one of the ways you establish credibility is be crystal clear on your purpose. So listen to these words. You'd say, my purpose is for you to be so outrageously happy with the help that I give you that you gladly introduce me to at least 2 people before we get your home sold, or help you buy a home, or help you get your loan closed. Now, if you listen to that statement very carefully, my purpose is for you to be so outrageously happy with the help that I give you, you gladly introduce me to at least 2 people that you care about before I even get your home sold, or help you buy a home, or help you get a loan. Now, the magic in those words is you're speaking through the transaction, not to the transaction. So what we teach you is to put all of that together. So you're sitting with a client and you say, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Client, my intention or my purpose is for you to be so outrageously happy with the help that I provide you that you gladly introduce me to at least 2 people that you really care about before we even get your home sold. As a matter of fact, would you be comfortable introducing me to family members, friends, neighbors, and other people who could use my help? Now, I want you to really hear those words, because what they do is they create a thought, produce a feeling that create a behavior. And those are called magic words. As you may or may not know, I've been studying the skill of neurolinguistics for the last 23 years. And what I've been able to do is take the best dialogues and bring them to the real estate and the mortgage industry and give you the exact language to influence people in the direction of your goal. And remember, your goal in the During unit is for half of the people to refer someone to you before the transaction is over. Let me give you a few other thoughts. Now, listen to these words. Isn't it nice to know? Now, you can say that to yourself silently. Isn't it nice to know? Isn't it nice to know? That's called a compliance statement. So when you're with a client and the client says, hey, you've done a great job for us, your response would be, isn't it nice to know that you now have a friend in the business who you feel comfortable introducing the people you care about who need my help? Now, if you listen to that again and notice that what you're doing is you're not actually asking for a referral, you're letting people know that they have a friend in the business, because that's the way most people will introduce you. They'll say, hey, I've got a friend in the business. They don't say, I know a real estate agent. They refer to you as a friend, so you're already referring to yourself as a friend. And then you're asking if they would feel comfortable versus asking for a referral. Now listen again. The client says, hey, Joe, you've done a great job. So really, when you think about it, the purpose of your During unit is to get people to say during the process, hey, you're doing a great job for me. And every time they say you're doing a great job for me, we call that a referral moment. And this is the big opportunity. And I'll take the magic words and insert it into that opportunity. So you just say something like this. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, isn't it nice to know that you now have a friend in the real estate business who you feel comfortable introducing the people that you really care about to who could use my help? And you'll watch your client, the person who receives this communication, they'll just go inside and they'll go, yeah, Joe, you are my friend, and I do feel comfortable. And yeah, if I notice somebody, I'll let you know. And then another great dialogue that we teach, and this is one of, I see at least 40 different specific dialogues that we teach, and I've just given you 5, but listen to this 6th one. This is called next time. When you say to your client, the next time you're in a conversation with a friend, a family member, or a neighbor, and they mention that they would like to buy a larger, more spacious home, would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? I see if you can put all this together. So imagine you're with your client, and a client says to you, hey, Joe, you've really done a great job for us. I'm really grateful. And you would say to them, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, that's what my purpose is. My purpose is for you to be so outrageously happy with the help that I provide you that you'd gladly introduce me to at least 2 people before I even get your home sold. And isn't it nice to know that you now have a friend in the business who you do feel comfortable introducing the people you care about to? And the next time you're in a conversation with a person and they mention that they would like to have a larger, more spacious home, would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? Now, if you could string all that together, you're now learning the magic of referral language. And one last piece, and it's really an important part of the puzzle, is giving people in specific instructions, exact way to introduce you. And we use a little formula called take out your cell phone, look up my number, and call me immediately. Now, as you may or may not know, the most valuable real estate is your name in their cell phone directory. Is when a person's going to introduce you to a friend or a family member, what they do is they take their cell phone out, they look up your number, and then they give your number, or they call you and say, hey, I got a friend who's going to be buying or selling a home. I want to introduce the 2 of you. So what you want to do from this point forward is start to educate every person you meet that when they hear someone mention that they're going to be refinancing, maybe resetting their loan, maybe buying their first home, maybe moving up to a larger, more spacious home, maybe buying their dream home. What you want to do is suggest that what they do is take out their cell phone, look up your number, and call you immediately so you can talk about how the 2 of you can introduce each other. Magic words, very powerful. And when you are listening to these CDs, many people tell me they listen over and over and over again, because what they want to do is get that into long-term memory so when they're in front of their client, they have the magic to have 50% of the people introduce them to their next client. You will love those languaging skills. So now you got a better idea of what it takes to build a During unit. First, you have to recognize the bigger opportunity. Number 2 is you've got to measure your referral results. And number 3 is you have the magic words to get referrals. And when you put all 3 of them together, you are on your way to doing 3 extra transactions in the next 60 days. Truly bankable results. Next, we're going to work on the after unit.